Leeds, and England's central midfielder Kalvin Phillips is on his way to champions Manchester City. So this was reported by all of the big guns yesterday. Deal done. Leeds and Manchester City agreeing a £42 million transfer fee plus £3 million in add-ons. Manchester City youngster Darko Darby will go in the other direction for £5 million, but that is not considered part of this transaction. Phillips is a one-club man and has risen up the ranks at Ellen Road. The breakthrough season in terms of appearing regularly at Leeds was 2016-17. Over the next two seasons, Phillips started 59 games at championship level under Gary Monk, Thomas Christensen and Paul Heckingbottom. The real breakthrough, though, we all know, was in 2018 when Marcelo Bielsa arrived at Leeds. Phillips started that season as, let's be honest, a pretty bog-standard championship midfielder and ended it as one of the stars of the division as Leeds finished third, losing in the playoff semi-finals. The Bielsa 4-1-4-1 system sees those centre-backs split, full-backs go forward, and the deep-lying playmaker drops right in between the centre-backs to pretty much orchestrate the genesis of most phases of play. Phillips took to that particular role like the proverbial duck to water, and his accurate short passing and ball circulation made him a vital component in Leeds' success. Leeds made keeping Phillips at the club a big priority in the face of plenty of interest from promoted playoff winners Aston Villa. Instead, they chose to cash in on Pontus Jansson and Jack Clark to balance up the books. It was the right decision as Phillips started 37 games the next season and Leeds cruised to the championship title. Up to the Premier League, and the biggest compliment I can pay Leeds and Phillips is that not a lot changed. They played exactly the same way, and Phillips was pretty much just as effective in the Premier League as he was in the Championship, as Leeds got an excellent 9th place finish. England manager Gareth Southgate obviously had his eye on Phillips in the Championship as well, as he was called up for England's selection before kicking a ball in the Premier League and made his Three Lions debut in September of 2020. Phillips was used differently for England in a pair with Declan Rice, who in the main was the sitter, Phillips pushing a little bit further forward, but he took to that role as well and became a key figure in England's run to the final of the Euros. They lost on penalties, but Phillips was one of the stars of the England team and started each and every single game in the tournament. Over the past season, things unravelled a bit for Leeds and Bielsa. Phillips' mentor was sacked, maybe in part due to an injury to Kalvin Phillips and fellow England call-up Pat Bamford. Last season, Kalvin Phillips only managed to start 18 games, and maybe that was a key factor in Leeds narrowly avoiding relegation. That's the story so far for Kalvin Phillips' career. We'll look at what it's going to be like at Manchester City imminently. But first, I would love you to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video. Help it spread to many other interested parties. And speaking of interested parties, that would certainly describe Pep Guardiola, who was very much an interested party when it comes to Kalvin Phillips, and he's going to take him to his 4-time champions up at the Etihad. Look, the links between Bielsa and Guardiola have been much talked about, so it's not a huge surprise that Pep would like a player developed by Bielsa. In terms of the fee, we'll call it 45 million with the add-ons. I haven't seen the deal memorandum and neither of you, so we'll go with what we've heard. And for that, Manchester City are getting themselves a 26-year-old Premier League ready England international. It would represent a record sale for Leeds as well, breaking the nearly 20-year-old figure set when Rio Ferdinand left for Manchester United. Much will be said as to whether that fee is too low or too high. That feels pretty subjective, but watching Fabrizio Romano, the sports journalist, and his video, he said there were bigger offers, but City were able to almost come in with a lower one because Phillips had said he only wanted to work with Guardiola. To make some comparisons here, we're in the same ballpark as Matic to Manchester United, Kovacic to Chelsea, Xhaka and Partey to Arsenal, all Premier League central midfielders. In terms of Manchester City's transfer history, you can probably disregard Grealish, as the clause said 100 million, and we all think they probably would have paid less if it hadn't. They just decided they wanted him and they went in at that figure. I had a look on Transfermarkt, and if their figures are to be believed, and, read into that what you will, Manchester City have signed 14 players for higher fees than they've paid for Kalvin Phillips. I think they'll probably be quite happy with this deal, but you let me know your thoughts in the comments. How will Phillips fit in at Manchester City? Well, look, we know he's not going to go there and go straight into the first team. Manchester City have Rodri, who's an excellent ball circulator and started 33 Premier League games last season. Phillips will no doubt be able to do that role, but you'd imagine he'll spend much of season 1 getting up to speed with the Champions League level, and probably, if he's going to become a regular starter, that'll be further down the line. Fernandinho is finishing up at City, and that's the spot Phillips will likely be filling. For the record, Fernandinho started 10 Premier League games last season. Phillips' fellow England players at City were not the most used by Pep in the Premier League, so to compare him to his England teammates, Foden, 24 starts, Sterling 23, Grealish 22, Walker 20, Stones 12. I think there's some injury issues there, though. You'd imagine Phillips with that Fernandinho number of 10 and Foden at 24, somewhere in between there, he'd be happy with that number of starts, assuming there are no massive injury problems for either him or the other midfielders next season at the Etihad. I'll sort of divide my conclusions here into 3. From a Manchester City point of view, they'll be very happy. They've got a player who fits their style at a price that does seem fairly reasonable. They'll no doubt throw him in with all the stars, and I think he'll most likely swim, although we know he's not going to be first name on the team sheet immediately. From a Leeds point of view, look, he's been a great servant there, and you wouldn't begrudge him the opportunity to join the champions and get himself a lovely pay rise. I'm sure if you said to most Leeds fans, 20 million more on the fee, but it's Manchester United, they'd probably take this deal, wouldn't they? Could the fee have been more? Yes, possibly, but my personal opinion is we're not miles out at 45 million. From an England point of view, I really like it. Whether or not Southgate will use him in a similar way or anywhere near the way that Pep is going to use him, well, that's a different conversation. But do I want the best English players to go and transfer to the top teams and go and play with the top players and managers? Yes, I do. That can only be a good thing for the Three Lions. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments on Kalvin Phillips to Manchester City. If you're a Leeds fan, does he go with your blessing? I want to know your best Kalvin Phillips memories, and let me know about that fee. Did you want a little bit more? I'm sure that's going to be a thorny issue down there. For some more Kalvin Phillips memories and some more content, stay with the channel, click right here, and you can see my review of Leeds' promotion season in 2019-20, of which Kalvin Phillips was an absolutely key component.